Alright man, let's have a real talk. Pull up a chair. You met a girl. She's awesome. She's smart. She's funny. She's got that little spark in her eye that makes you forget your own name. You have a couple of great conversations, maybe even a killer first date. You're thinking, this is it. This is going smoothly. And then it happens. The texts get a little shorter. She's suddenly super busy for the next 2 weeks. She goes from being an engaged, enthusiastic participant in your conversation to giving you just enough to keep you guessing. She's become hard to get. Now, what does the average guy do here? He panics. He goes into what I call recovery mode. He texts more, trying to fix it. He sends the double text, then the triple text. He asks, "Is everything okay?" He tries to lock down the next date with the urgency of a hostage negotiator. He basically starts acting like a nervous applicant in a job interview he's bombing, trying to over-explain his qualifications. And in doing so, he blows it every single time. He confirms her decision to pull back because his behavior screams neediness. But you're not the average guy. Because you're here. And you're about to learn how to flip that script so completely, using a powerful psychological trigger that she won't even see coming. What if I told you that her pulling back is actually an opportunity? An opportunity to become the most intriguing guy in her orbit. To do that, you need to understand one key concept. It's a bit of a weird word, but I want you to burn it into your brain. The Zeigarnik Effect. So what on earth is the Zeigarnik Effect? Don't worry, I'm not about to throw a boring psychology lecture at you. Think of it like this. Have you ever watched the first episode of a crazy good Netflix series? It ends on a massive cliffhanger. The main character opens a box, their eyes go wide with shock, and cut-y. Credits roll. What does your brain do? It goes into overdrive. You need to know what's in the box. You can't stop thinking about it. That unfinished story, that open loop, is lodged in your mind. That, my friend, is the Zeigarnik Effect in action. It's the psychological principle that our brains have a powerful, nagging desire to finish what has been started. We remember incomplete tasks and unresolved stories far more vividly than the ones we've neatly tied up and filed away. It's a mental itch. And when a woman is being hard to get, your job is not to scratch that itch for her. Your job is to become the itch. Let's break down how to actually use this, because it's not about playing games, it's about being strategic. First, let's talk about your communication, specifically texting. When 99% of guys get a positive response from a woman, their instinct is to keep the conversation going for as long as possible. They think more time equals more connection. Wrong. You're being the boring documentary that explains everything until the audience falls asleep. You need to be the movie trailer that leaves them desperate for more. So when you're in a great text exchange, the vibe is good, you're making her laugh. That's when you end it. Not when the conversation dies down, but at its absolute peak. You're the one who says, "Hey, this has been fun, but I've got to run, got a project I need to finish. Let's talk later." Or even better, you plant a seed for the future. You say something like, "You know what? Your story about that terrible travel experience reminds me of this insane thing that happened to me in Thailand. It's too long to type. I'll have to tell you about it sometime." Boom. What have you just done? You've created an open loop. You've handed her the cliffhanger. Now in the back of her mind, there's a little file labeled, "That insane Thailand story." Her brain wants to close that file. You haven't just ended a conversation. You've created a mental bookmark. You are no longer just that guy she's texting. You're the guy with the unresolved story. You are creating intrigue, not just providing validation. Now, let's take this to the next level. The date itself. The first date is not a confessional. It's not the time to lay out your entire life story, your 5-year plan, your childhood traumas, and your feelings about her. So many guys do this. They think vulnerability means spilling their guts immediately. That's not vulnerability. That's oversharing. It's like reading the last page of a book first. Why would she need to read the rest? Instead, think of yourself as a compelling novel. On the first date, she gets to read the first 2 chapters. And they should be great chapters. Be present, be engaging. Ask her questions. Tell a great story or 2. But hold things back. Be layered. When she asks you about your work, don't just give your title. Give her the interesting part, the why you do it. But maybe save the crazy story about your worst day on the job for another time. You're not being secretive, you're being selective. You're giving her a taste, not the entire meal. And just like with the text conversation, you should be the one to end the date and end it on a high note. When the laughter is at its peak, when the connection feels strongest, that's your cue. Look at your watch and say, wow, I can't believe how late it is. I've actually got an early start tomorrow, but this was amazing. We have to do this again. You are leaving her on the emotional peak of the interaction. Her memory of the date won't be that slow fade at the end, but the absolute high point. The story of the date is left unfinished, and she'll be mentally rehearsing the sequel. But here's the most important part, the thing that makes this a powerful strategy instead of a cheap trick. For the Zeigarnik Effect to work authentically, it can't just be an act. You have to actually be the man with the unfinished business. You need to have a life. You need to genuinely have things to do, passions to pursue, goals to hit. When you say, hey, I have to go, got a project to finish, it lands with 100 times more impact if you actually have a project you're excited about. When you say you have an early morning, it's because you're getting up to go to the gym, or work on your business, or learn a new skill. The hard-to-get strategy that insecure guys use is pretending to be busy. The strategy that a competent man uses is being busy. Busy building a life he loves. Her being hard to get is often a test. She's pulling back to see how you'll react. Will you crumble and chase, or will you remain unbothered? A man with his own purpose, who is inviting her to join his awesome journey, but whose journey will continue with or without her. The Zeigarnik Effect is a natural byproduct of being a high-value man. You have so many open loops in your own life, projects, hobbies, friendships, goals, that you naturally create them in your interactions with others. You're not trying to be a mystery, you just are a mystery, because you're a man in motion, a story that's still being written. So let's be clear, this is not about being a jerk. It's not about ignoring her for 3 days to play it cool. It's not about being intentionally vague or difficult. That's just bad communication. The difference is in the intention. A game player creates artificial distance to manipulate. A confident man creates intrigue because his focus is on his own life's mission. He's warm, he's present, he's engaging when he's with you, but he's not always with you. And his absence creates that mental space for her to think about him, to wonder, to want to open the next chapter. So the next time you feel a woman pulling back, don't lean in, don't chase, take a breath, and remember the Zeigarnik Effect. Be the Netflix cliffhanger, not the boring documentary. End the conversation on a high, end the date wanting more. Have your own stories to write, your own loops to close. Stop trying so hard to get her, and instead, focus on becoming a man who is effortlessly hard to forget. If this helped you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. This is Goodbye, Mr. Nice, where we stop chasing and start attracting. See you in the next one.